Good morning, everyone. We're going to give it a couple more minutes. We have a lot of people on this morning that have not joined, so we're just going to give us a couple more minutes and then we will be on our way. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar where we will be talking about using person-centered planning, thinking to develop a behavior plan. My name is Danielle Daly. I'm the Professional Development Coordinator here at the Illinois Crisis Prevention Network. I'm just going to go over a couple housekeeping things before we get started. We are going to run from 10 to 11:30 this morning. I did send out an email this morning with the presentation and handout. If for some reason you did not receive that, shoot me an email or put your name and email into the Q&A so that it doesn't get lost in that chat box. My email is ddaily@hope.us. I'll also put that in the chat box. I can send those to you quick. Everyone is muted. Your cameras are disabled. Please use that chat box. Amy and Anna are going to be interacting with you guys and are going to be asking questions. So make sure you're using that chat box feature. You can also turn on your closed captioning using that live transcript button that's on the bottom of Zoom. Please visit our website, icpn.org. You can view all of our upcoming webinars. We do have one next week, next Wednesday on Fragile X. And then Amy and Anna are going to be doing lessons learned again on the 30th of this month. You can also sign up to be on our mailing list using the top right ribbon on the website. Give me about 2 weeks to get those continuing education certificates out. We do have a lot of people joining us this morning, so it's going to take a little bit of time. So give me about 2 weeks. If you don't receive it during that time period, shoot me an email and I can make sure that you get that. I will put this information into the chat box. I'll put my email into the chat box. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out. But I think that's it for me. Amy and Anna, go for it.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's go for it.
Did you know we're presenting again?
I kind of did forget a little bit, but
Yeah,
I'm ready.
I better check my calendar.
We're super excited. There's a lot of talk about person-centered and planning right now. I know a lot of you on here are joining us while you're navigating the whole settings rule that's happening. which sort of comes back to person-centered, right? The whole premise of that is that you want people to live in an environment that's individualized and meaningful for them. And so hopefully we can give you some tips and challenge your thinking and have a little fun along the way as we start our day. And so Anna and I are very interactive people. We first did this training at NAQ. And when we decided to do it virtually, we realized quickly that it was a much more interactive training than maybe Zoom would allow. So we're gonna ask you guys to utilize the chat box. We are gonna be giving away some Dunkin Donuts gift cards, and we'll get to that in a little bit as we go through this. So the more you participate in the chat box, the better your chances are of winning. So we are going to talk about what person-centered means. What do our current behavioral reports look like in the sort of realm that we live in? What does person-centered behavior support look like? And then we're going to talk about the 10 principles of person-centered planning. And when we first did this, we really used this book, The New Plan. It's a great book. It's easy to use. It's sort of like a checklist. There's lots of pictures and things, so it's not a heavy read. I would recommend that. It's on the references at the end if that's something you're interested in. We bought our copy off Amazon, so. We started our day with Duncan too, Lisa. Look. So we're going to tell you a little bit about who we are to get us started, both from Anna and I's perspective and from SST's perspective. So we are from the Rockford ICPN office, and when you get hired at Rockford ICPN, we have you choose a spirit animal. We ask you to think about what your values are, what your likes and dislikes are, and sort of how that resonates into an animal. And we have some people that take quizzes. We have some people that put thought into it. We have some people that pick their favorite animal. So I did a little combination of all of those things. And so I am Amy. I am a behavior analyst with the Illinois Crisis Prevention Network. I've been here about 9 years, and my spirit animal is a giraffe. That's me. My giraffe mask maybe needs to be replaced. It was by the heater and got a little warped, so my nose is a little crooked. But we may do. So the reason I picked a giraffe is because I like to sort of think outside the box. I like to look at things from a different perspective, but giraffes are also known for being self-conscious and worried about what others think. And they're like that because of their height. And I'm not like that because of my height, because I'm just average, but I do care what other people think. So they're also known for their sharp wit and engaging sense of humor, which I think that's me. I think I'm funny. Not everybody does, but I've been told I'm an acquired taste, so take it or leave it. But they also sort of have a small, close circle. And so that's really sort of what I pride myself on, is that different environment, having people that I sort of align myself with. And the other thing about giraffes is that they don't need much sleep. And I don't know if it's that I don't need much, but I don't get much. So that's me. I'm Amy, and I'm a giraffe.
That picture just makes me smile. It's so funny. Your little giraffe.
It needs replacing. Whoever gets me in the Secret Santa may want to replace my giraffe.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna Vivanti. I've been with ICPN for 12 years or so, doing different various roles. I'm a licensed social worker. I'm an owl, and I'm already looking through the comments, and it looks like a lot of people are actually owls. I've seen several on here. I don't know what my issue is with it or what I like about an owl. I've always been drawn to them. I always say that during the pandemic, when I was home with my kids and I hadn't figured out how to be a stay-at-home mom yet, with trying to navigate everything, we were so bored. So we would just drive up and down the Rock River, and I would look for bald eagles and owls and things like that. And we would find some a lot of times. So that just kind of added to my obsession about them. But then when I started actually researching them, it really did sound a lot like me. They love leadership. They're kind of an old soul. I've always been told that. I've kind of always had kind of the older group of friends and things like that. They fly silently, they stay hidden in the background. That's kind of my thing. I'm actually a very introverted person. It's probably why Amy and I are such good friends. She's the extrovert and I'm the introvert. So we kind of complement each other well.
And I'm older.
And you're older. See, I was going to say that and then I just decided not to, but
I knew you were going to.
I was at a day program yesterday and one of the individuals there guessed I was 18. So that made me feel good.
Yeah, you held your held head high for the rest of the day.
I sure did. Leaderships have vision, insights, very loyal, intuitive, good problem solvers. I feel like I'm a very loyal person, almost loyal to a fault. Sometimes it gets me in trouble. But I don't know. I love owls. So I'm glad that you guys are sharing with us what your spirit animals are as well. And if you don't have one, then I think you guys should find one and make it part of your office culture because it works for us. We're quirky, but we like it.
Let me see here. I always have issues getting started with,
Ooh, a dragonfly. I've never seen that one.
Danielle's a raccoon too. Not for those reasons, dark circles, and that's funny, Lisa. Okay, so how we're gonna do our gift card giveaway, we will send these to you virtually via email. They're Dunkin Donuts gift cards. So you must be able to receive them virtually. Danielle is going to be our randomizer, and so she will be picking from the chat box. And so when we tell her it's time to give us a name, then she's going to announce who the winner is. So ICPN, what are we? So we work for the Illinois Crisis Prevention Network. We're the support services team through the Department of Human Services, DHS. Our goal is to provide supports and services to both children and adults with a primary diagnosis of an IDDD. So that has to be their primary diagnosis. Then the referral stems from them experiencing some sort of behavioral or medical crisis. So our goal is to not only stabilize the person, but we want to make sure that they're successful in the least restrictive environment possible. So we work diligently creating great relationships with community agencies, family members, state entities, service coordinators, and other various stakeholders in the system. And so our goal in what we do is we have a quest to sort of provide collaboration to people. And so we've always sort of lived by the model that with support comes stability. And so I think that rings true in a lot of things. And we're going to sort of touch on that today a little bit about, the support that people need to sort of achieve their outcomes when we're talking about person-centered planning. And so that's at the very nature of what we do every day, that with the power of support comes stability. So we consider ourselves sort of a wraparound service to what you guys are sort of already doing out there every day. Let's see here. Why Duncan? Why Duncan, Anna? Why are we talking about Dunkin Donuts today?
Well. So Amy and I talk a lot in our presentations about office culture and things like that. Dunkin Donuts has kind of become an ingrained part of the Rockford ICPN office. We talk about it all the time. We have a Dunkin Donuts in our parking lot, so that kind of helps. We, swing by and grab it before we get to work. My daughter actually works at Dunkin Donuts too. She worked there in high school and now she's in college. So when she comes back, we just kind of drill her with all sorts of weird Dunkin questions. We call her at work. We've had her ask headquarters questions. Amy called her once and asked her if they actually made the donuts, and no, they don't. They have them brought in. So they lost a lot of cool points with Amy when she found that out. So we talk a lot about Dunkin here. We have some people
donuts, right? It's donuts. Dunkin Donuts. But I guess the argument in the office, just so you guys all know sort of what happens, is that their name is Duncan now. That it's not donuts anymore, it's Duncan. So I guess they're going for the coffee thing.
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever really gotten donuts. I eat them when you guys get them, but I like their coffee.
Yeah. I mean, don't let Anna fool you. I still buy donuts from Dunkin.
Yeah. She just likes to complain about it.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've created this kind of culture of Dunkin here. We crave a lot of collaboration. So we all sit around, we have a big conference table, and we all sit around, drink our coffee, and we collaborate. And we do this a lot, probably more than we should. Sometimes Amy's like, go to work. But we love to sit down and collaborate and do things like that. So Dunkin has really become a part of our culture. So when we started doing research on Dunkin, we actually found out probably more than we should have also, as well as what their core values are and things like that. So it really resonated. Honesty, transparency, humility, integrity, withstand any challenges because of the culture, which, we've talked about a lot, is important to us. But what really struck us is we read on their website that it says it's about a meaningful exchange with each cup of coffee you serve. And I don't know, something about that just really made us feel good, because that's what we're trying to do, right, in our field, is try to have meaningful exchanges. That's the whole point of person-centered planning. I want to be a good human being. I want to have good exchanges with my coworkers, with my family, with the people we're supporting, and things like that. So that really kind of sealed the deal as far as why we liked Dunkin', and we choose to integrate things like spirit animals and Dunkin' and stuff into our core values. I don't know, as I'm saying this, I'm like, well, I don't know, maybe I should go work for Dunkin' now.
No.
Amy and I talk a lot about, like, where would you work if you didn't work here, like outside of the field? And Amy and I always say Menards or Lowe's. I think we decided Lowe's instead of Menards, but we want to work like out in the garden department. So I don't know. Have you guys ever thought about like what you want to do if you leave this field? If you do, put it in the chat box, because we need.
I would also volunteer to supervise the lunch hour of kindergartners. That's something I talk about frequently. I think that age group is they're the funniest human beings ever. They don't care. They say whatever they want. So I would just help them to make sure that they, didn't steal each other's food and open their milks and things like that, and then go home. But we didn't win the Powerball, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So before we move on, Danielle, first $10 Dunkin' card winner is?
Geez, you're ahead of the game. I was thinking we had a little bit more time.
No.
We have Lisa
Pay attention,
Hartman.
Danielle.
Hey, I started a timer like I was told. Lisa Hartman. She told us that she would be a border collie, smart, able to work with a team, independent, and fiercely loyal to her people, with a huge dedication to taking care of her team and students. She is our first winner.
$10 Dunkin' card, Lisa.
I'm surprised you chose that, because you're a cat person, Danielle.
I know, right? It's a very good explanation.
Yeah,
and I
love
do
it.
love dogs, especially a border collie. Very smart.
All right, stay tuned. There's lots more Dunkin' cards where those came from.
Okay, I'm up. So positive psychology is something that I've really gotten into during the pandemic. A lot of negative stuff came out of the pandemic, but one good thing that came out is a lot of us were able to like learn new things and start going to workshops and listening to podcasts and stuff that we didn't really have the time for before. So positive psychology is something that I've become really interested in. I think because of all the negativity and everything that's going on in the world, positive psychology focuses on well-being and things that we can do specifically within this PERMA thing just to get our life on track and focus on the positive. I feel like it's kind of a breath of fresh air. There's some really good positive psychology podcasts out there and books if you guys want to learn more about what it is. I'm just going to kind of quickly go through each of these and talk about it so you kind of have an idea of what it is, because we use positive psychology then with the Dijkstra book and just kind of some of the principles to try to feed those into our person-centered behavior plans. So two of the focuses of positive psychology are positive experiences, which is happy, joy, love, inspiration, that sort of thing. And then positive states or traits, which are resilience, gratitude, and compassion. So like I said, it's very applicable in our own lives as well as the people that we're providing support to. So this is kind of just a little acronym, is always called acronym for it, PERMA. So the P is hope, joy, love, pride, gratitude, the ability to reflect on your past experiences and pull out the positives and what you learned from it, and also the ability to move forward. This is where we hear that term flourishing a lot now. It's kind of being thrown around a lot in this field now. We want to flourish. We want to bring a lot of gratitude and make sure our staff and the people we're supporting feel prideful and things like that. And we want to build the resilience. So we talk about resilience too, as some of our other trainings as well, but kind of how to build that grit and that ability to move through challenges. The E is when we talk about flow. It's using things that you really enjoy in your life and getting in that state where you kind of lose track of time. You're doing things that you really enjoy, being absorbed, and using your character strengths to be happy. The E or the R is positive relationships. So that's probably one of the biggest ones that we look at, especially in this field, are do we feel supported, and do the people that we're supporting also feel supported based on their values, not our values, but what their values are. Are we taking the time to look at their relationships with other people outside of who they live with? Are we looking at the social environment? We know now through research that your social environment actually helps prevent decline. So making sure that we're out and we're having those meaningful connections with other people. Thinking about those networks, right? We all have a whole bunch of networks within our life. So looking at those networks and making sure that that's positively contributing to physical health. And then the big thing is celebrating success. I think we forget this. We're so hard on ourselves. We're always focused on what we didn't do and the negative, that being able to celebrate the good things and mindfully doing that and making it a conscious effort is really important. The M is meaning. So that's, we're looking at our purpose, making sure we have purpose. Again, it's based on our values that will increase our life satisfaction and decrease our health problems. So we want to look at that. And then our health and vitality, one is our achievement, and then our health and vitality is one that was just added. So our achievements is obviously like looking at our goals, having goals that we want to work towards and being able to get there. And then our health and vitality is one that they actually added. They called it PERMA plus H, I think. But that's your physical activity, your nutrition, and I think sleep. So they added that one on. So that's a good one to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and our health.
So I think that Nancy just made a good point, that she said that this information was very helpful when she was earning her BSW degree, that she focused on it and it found it exceptional working with our consumers at the agency I'm at. And I think that's an excellent sort of comment to sort of bridge why did Anna pick positive psychology to talk about when we're talking about person-centered plans. And the reason is just that the whole idea of person-centeredness comes from this idea of each one of these letters, relationships. And we're going to talk a lot about this, and positive emotion and having meaning behind what we do, and health. And so we're going to talk about the 10 principles of person-centered planning and how we can incorporate those into a behavior plan. But the foundation of those comes from positive psychology. So what does person-centered really mean, right? It means all of these things. It has to be driven by the person, that ensures services are delivered in a timely manner. They have guidelines and checkboxes that we have to fill out. It has to have a risk assessment. But I think that, I assume the majority of our audience is in Illinois, right? And our system is broken right now. We know that. But yet here we are, right? Trying to pick up and carry on and figure out what we can do to make this better. And so the idea of person-centered and sort of the history around it came from, because for the first part of the 20th century, parents were forced with, when they had children with an intellectual disability, they had a really hard choice to make, right? They could institutionalize their children, or they could keep them at home without any benefits of taxpayer funded services or supports. And so in late 1960, there was a small movement, and the movement was to sort of close institutions and move residents, the folks we serve, into community based living sort of group home situations, right? And I mean, it's no secret that in Illinois, we have not been successful in moving everybody out of those situations, right? But those of us that have been in the field for a long time, think about, you know, who was the journalist that did the Willowbrook, Geraldo Rivera, right? Like, what a depressing and sort of gut-wrenching look that was into how people were living in those systems. And so that started in the 1960s. And then in 1980s, there was some social scientists that sort of got together with disability advocates, and they were making a case that people with intellectual disability should have more say in where they lived and how they lived. Yet when people went and asked the individuals, they really didn't have an answer because they didn't know anything different. And so when we were really talking about this, we questioned, how far are we from that now? You know, you ask a lot of the individuals that we're working with, and they still don't have answers. They don't understand what their choices are. They don't understand how they can sort of live in a different environment. We know that they have the right to, but we don't know how to empower people to do that. And so some buzzwords that sort of came out from the idea of person-centered are individualized supports, the idea of inclusion, that people first language, that was a huge buzzword at one point. Age appropriate, you know, how many people, you know, can remember surveyors come in and saying that they shouldn't be playing with a blocks at 40 some years old because it's not age appropriate. And so then who decides what age appropriate is? Personal outcomes, supported living was a term that came out of this sort of movement. And so then by the mid to late 1980s, this idea of person-centered had really sort of spread across the country. And that's sort of where we're at today. We're still sort of figuring out how to implement it. I think everybody gets the idea that it's a good thing, but there's a lot of sort of things in place that come into play when we talk about that. So to just sort of challenge your thinking a little bit, I want you to, in the chat box, tell me what your perfect weekend would be. If you could, you know, do anything you wanted on tomorrow. Well, no, tomorrow is only on Saturday. Today is only Wednesday, Amy. And we'll pretend that it's going to be tomorrow's temperature of 76 degrees here in the Midwest. So what is it that you would do? I see camping with friends, go on a cruise, hiking. So a lot of people are getting outside. We have people that are going to knit, go for a walk, reading books. We got a lot of hikers in this group. A road trip, spend time in your yard, exercise, reading a book, swimming. Anna, tell me what your perfect weekend would be.
Waking up, I was a little more specific. Waking up around 9,
okay.
Having coffee on my porch with cream, going shopping with my sisters and my mom, maybe come home later and play with the kids a little bit, you know, hang out with them, swim outside. I also said hiking. My husband can cook some steaks for us, maybe have a club soda and some Tito's and a root beer float later, go for a walk at 9 and then watch some Netflix.
Okay, Anna, that's a lot.
That you said perfect.
So then take that and think about the consumers individuals, we call them referrals, you know, so the clients that we're working with, the people that we're working with. Tanza said that a healing retreat on the ocean, plenty of sunshine, good healing food, right? That sounds amazing. So then what would be the perfect weekend for the folks that we're supporting? What would that look like for them? And then in reality, out of what you said, Anna, how many things are you sort of in control over? How many things are you able to sort of tangibly touch every weekend that maybe it's not perfect, you know, maybe you're not getting up at 9, but do you have choices over if Vince cooks you a steak or if your sister can go for a hike with you? You know, what sort of choices do you have throughout the week to sort of plan for your weekend?
Yeah, I have control over all of it. So I think that everything in my perfect weekend is totally doable for me.
Right. And I think that's sort of a profound thought that the folks that we're working with don't have that much control, right? And I'm not saying it's because we're unwilling to give them that control. There's a variety of reasons, right? There's a lot of limitations and deficits to this idea of person-centered planning, whatever that looks like. Just read through some of the comments and just think about, we have people that are going to binge watch horror movies. We have people that are, watching Netflix. Just Kristen wants to gut her house and clean it, So there's limitations that we're sort of faced with every day, though, in what we do. So there's limitations that come from the family members of the people we're supporting. There's service providers. As service providers, we're struggling to provide adequate assistance to help people get their perfect sort of weekend. There's behavioral challenges that make it difficult. So look at this list and what sort of other barriers or limitations stops our folks from having that perfect weekend that Anna sort of described and that all of you are describing. We have a huge staffing crisis in the state of Illinois and sort of nationwide right now. And if anybody is not experiencing a staffing crisis, you can take over the presentation right now and tell us what you've done to be successful. Staff. Yep. Staff. Extra money to participate in the activities. Not enough staff. Staffing. So yeah, it's a huge issue, right? And that's just turns itself into a variety of other issues. So we're sort of worried about staffing, and then do we have the right staff? So even if we're staffed adequately, and maybe it's not people that know them well enough to get them safely out in the community, and on and on and on and on, right? And so outside of all of us are stretched thin, and there's choices and high caseloads, and there's a lack of training. There's a lot of reasons why we are not able to sort of help our individuals have that perfect weekend. So we talked about what is person-centered planning, right? Right here. What does this really mean? And then what is person-centered for us? And then what are the deficits of that? And so, no, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. My screen is frozen, so just hold on a second.
We're here.
Danielle, let's do a gift card while we wait.
Funny, I knew that you were going to call on me. I was just looking through to see. Let's see. I've seen a lot from Kristen, and I am going to butcher your last name, so I'm not even going to attempt it. Molly New. That's my guess. May not be right. But not only have I seen a lot, she also pointed out that instead of using the acronym that is used, the PERMA H, that you could actually say frame, which like PHRAME, and tell people it's how you frame yourself. And I thought that was very clever. So congratulations, Kristen.
Way to go, Kristen. And she says you got her last name right.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Maybe
I'm
she's
horrible
being
with
nice,
names.
but- So what if we take all of this and don't think about person-centered in so much of a formal sort of process, but just a way of thinking about the person based on their values and goals. And so person-centered at the very, very basic level is a philosophy and a way of life. It doesn't have to be a whole lot more than that. If we sort of go back to the frame or the PERMA that Anna talked about and really look at each one of those sort of 10 aspects of person-centered planning that we're going to go through here in a little bit, it really is just a philosophy and a way of life.
Yep, and that's why we talk so much about the Duncan and the spirit animals and stuff like that, is we want this to become a part of your organization, your agency, thinking about PERMA and how you guys can implement those, not only in plans and personal support plans and stuff like that, but in your guys' culture, and make this really a place that, you know, is more welcoming. We're all struggling with staffing. I just think to myself, like, if we could create a better environment or work culture or life balance, whatever it is, would we be able to pull in more people into this field? I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I'm just like reaching for the stars, but I feel like our satisfaction would be higher. We would feel better about what we're doing. We would have better work-life balance. The people we're supporting would be happier. You know, they may engage in target behaviors less. And I think that if we just get to the point of being able to integrate it into our daily lives, then, you know, everyone will be a happier person.
Yeah. So what do our current behavioral support plans look like? So those of you that are in a situation where you're dealing with behavior plans, what do those sort of look like? How are they written? How are they used? What are we doing? Right, Jessica, how do we get them to stop? Try to pass punishments off as consequences.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we see a lot of, if they do X, then do Y. If they engage in this, do this.
Yeah, and I think that where we're at right now with behavior support plans is that primarily they're reactive. There's not a whole lot of proactive things happening. And so when we write these behavior plans and when we train the staff on them, we're not really focusing on why the person is doing something and what could they do if it was to sort of serve the same function, right? What is it that they're trying to achieve or attain in life that they could gain access to a different way? And so that's one of the things that we really want to sort of reframe as we're going through this, you know, here for the next hour or so. Right. Sue, you're right. Many individuals want to earn a reward. And so who sort of dictates that reward? You know, in good situations, the individual does, but sometimes it's pop, even though that's not meaningful. So you end up with, you know, somebody that has a whole change full of 50 cents because they don't want to spend it on a pop, right?
Yep, so we'll pivot a little bit here. We talked about positive psychology a lot. This is a behavioral perspective. I think this is what most of us are used to using, how we conceptualize and frame things, how we build a plan. Don't get me wrong, I love me a good behavioral perspective, right? That's how we get our function-based plans. Great. We just got to find ways to integrate other parts of it. I think you guys probably are used to identifying, collecting, analyzing, determining, developing, and evaluating. That's kind of how we get to the point. You know, we get that call that says, I don't know, you know, Matt's kicking staff. It's coming out of nowhere. And so here we come with our backpacks on. I don't know why we have backpacks on, but in my head, we have backpacks on, do some fast, do some assessments, collect some data. I don't know. I feel like we would have a backpack on.
We do not have backpacks on when we come out.
We don't?
We're not Dora the Explorer.
I don't know. In my head, that's what's happening is we're walking with a backpack and we have a clipboard.
A tool belt.
Tool belt. Yeah. Okay. You have a tool belt. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to collect some data. We're going to figure out what the function is. We're going to create a plan based off of that. You know, I don't know. We're going to, you know, develop a reinforcement system or create a validating environment, whatever it is. We're going to take some more data and see kind of if things are getting better, if things are getting worse, retrain and all of that. So these are just kind of the basic steps that we would walk through what are you laughing at over there? You're laughing at something.
Ellen said, I have seen SST with backpacks. I can
See? Not just
I'm
me.
thinking about Zach in our office. He's one of our coworkers. He has a backpack on everywhere he goes. So you're right, Ellen. Backpacks it is.
Batman and Robin. See, in my head. Okay. Next slide.
That's my job.
That's your job, Amy. So, you know, as SST, we get the privilege of seeing behavior plans from all agencies all over the state. You know, some are short, some are long, so, you know, some are in between, but typically they all have these components or should have these components in the plan: the snapshot, the rationale, why are we doing this? What target behaviors are we looking at, or what are we aiming to decrease? What assessments did we do to get to our function-based plan? What adaptively are we going to teach them to increase a skill? How are we going to document this? What strategies are we going to use? And then our meta reduction plan, right? So a lot of these are what DHS tells us we have to have in there. And then some of it just helps our process of that behavioral perspective of getting, you know, from the beginning to the end sort of thing. You know, so a lot of times we'll see, you know, Nick is a 40-year-old man who lives in Estilla and Rockford. He carries a mild diagnosis of, I don't know, mild IDD and general anxiety. He engages in physical aggression. You know, he needs a behavior plan across settings to increase, you know, we're all used to seeing that. So these are kind of the basic parts of a behavior plan. And now what we're going to kind of challenge everybody to do is see if we can take some of those positive psychology principles and positive thinking and see if we can keep what we have, but integrate more of the positive psychology into our plans.
So raised her hand. I don't know. Do you have a question? Lisa.
Okay. So to go back to the book that Amy had mentioned by Art and Thane Dykstra, what's cool about this book is it takes positive thinking, person-centered planning, and positive psychology, and it kind of marries them both in together. It doesn't specifically talk about behavior plans, you know, like that, but they do have 10 principles that are on this slide that they break down person-centered thinking. So I think that this is a really concrete way of starting off if you want to make your plans more person-centered, but you don't know where to start. I think that these really make sense in what we do. They seem like they're obvious, but when you actually break them down and think about your specific people you're supporting, I think we're probably coming a little bit short on some of these. So if we can take these principles and then break them down, and put them into our plans, then it's a really good place to start. And Amy and I both always like something kind of tangible to take with us so we know where to start and how to incorporate those things. I think we kind of talked about this. We're just talking about incorporating them into plans and make them more person-centered. And if you guys have any ideas of how we could bridge together the two schools of thought from the positive psychology and the behavior perspective. So if you guys have any ideas, go ahead and put them in the chat box, or we'll just kind of start going through the principles here. Okay, so this is principle number 1. People want to experience their best possible life to flourish. This seems like really obvious, right? Like, of course, we want them to experience their best life. When Amy and I were at NIQ for this past year in New Orleans this summer, one of the presenters said something. He said, if you could switch lives with the people you're supporting, would you? And everybody said no. So he said, well, why is that? Why would we not switch lives with them, right? Like if we say we're providing the best support and they're living their best life, then why would we not want to switch places with them? So I don't know. I got to thinking like that. Like we go back to that, what's your perfect day? That's one of the reasons we probably wouldn't want to switch, right? Like we have little control. They have little control of their life. Not a lot of meaningful connections with people. Maybe, possibly, I'm not saying everybody. A lot of them don't have a lot of extended family, maybe that's coming and seeing. Kind of their staff is their family. You know, so if you think about why is it? Is it a matter of choice, mobility, independence, community integration? What parts of it are we lacking in that we need to kind of improve on? And what can we do to move them towards the best support that we can? So if you just think of someone on your caseload, anyone that you want, think about if you would actually change spots with them. And if the answer is no, then why? Why is the answer no? You know, we really do want them to live their best life. You go to the next slide. So one thing that we could do to incorporate or start thinking about how to make them have their best life, there's a happiness assessment by Karen Harvey. If you go to Karen Harvey's website, it's right in the assessment section. But it's just some questions in there. And this is a really good place to start to have conversations with the people we're supporting. And the engagement, positive relationships, achievement, meaning, and pleasure are all questions that are within this happiness assessment. And they're things that we kind of take for granted that we haven't asked yet. So, are the people I care about? Do I have friends? What are qualities that people like about me? Do I make a difference in other people's lives? And start thinking about some of these and actually ask the people that can, have that conversation with you. Start having these conversations with the people that we're providing support to and figure out what makes them tick, what makes them happy, or maybe they don't know yet. Maybe we haven't given opportunities or choices or anything like that, and they're just not sure what is it that's going to make them happy. Maybe they haven't been asked, what's your perfect weekend? What do you want to do today? If you had anything to do, or these two options, what is it that you would do? Or does anybody depend on you? Do you have a strong connection with anyone? And if not, what can we do to build these connections? What do you do for pleasure? We see a lot of people sitting around, we can't figure out what it is that they want to do, what they like. If we don't give them options and don't expose them to different things, how do we know if they don't like fishing or hiking or any of those things that we're talking about? So although we are up against a huge staffing crisis, if we can just start small and start building on it, then that's going to be more meaningful to people. And you can build these into your snapshot. We went over the portions of the behavior plan, in the snapshot, talk about what it is that makes them happy. What are their values? Instead of saying, Nick was a 30-year-old man who engages in physical aggression, blah, blah, blah. Why can't we say, that his favorite foods are this is what he values. This is what's important in his life. He has a strong friendship. Let's make this a little bit more positive so we can start building our adaptive programming and our plans more around that positive psychology of what is positive in their life that we want to actually work towards. Okay. Principle number 2, people want to be in control of their lives to experience autonomy. So again, think about that perfect day, right? We've kind of talked about this a lot, but think about that autonomy and how much they actually have. We actually do full presentations on avoiding power struggles. This is huge. We see this a lot with staff and with the people we're supporting, right? And we always tell people, behavior is communication. If the individual we're supporting is engaging, they're saying, hey, I want control over this. I'm not sure how to tell you. I'm not sure what I need to do, but I'm telling you that I want some control over my life. Control always gets like this negative rap, but if we look at control from a positive psychology framework, control gives us safety, direction, empowerment, purpose, and kind of gears us in that way that we want to go. We have control over our lives. I decided to come to work to get a Dunkin Donuts on the way here, a Dunkin coffee, you know what I mean? These are all things that I have control over. But when we think about the individuals we're supporting having control, and then they get into this power struggle and engagement and target behaviors, then it becomes this negative thing. So we really need to work on incorporating different ways into our behavior plan that can promote this autonomy. So I would just challenge everybody, next time you have an all staff meeting or you're working with people in the home, ask them what their perfect day is, and then ask the individuals in the home what their perfect day is and have this conversation. It'll give the DSPs, especially in your home, a lot of insight into how little of a control they have. I actually asked one of the people that I provide services to what his perfect day was, and he said that he just wanted to see his mom. His mom is getting older and in Rockford, doesn't get to see her much, and he wanted to go to church. Those are his 2 things that he wanted to do for his perfect day. So I feel like we need to make this happen, right? These are the things that make him he's choosing what he wants to have control over. The other thing is, when we're talking about our adaptive section in our behavior plans, do we need to teach them how to choose? Do we need a formal program in which we're providing a lot of trials to choose from? Amy talked about a lot of institutionalized living and things like that. a lot of people don't know how to choose, or they don't know what their options were. You know, like I was talking to a guy yesterday in day program and said, what kind of things can we do this winter? I know in the winter you really struggle. You can't play basketball. What can we do inside? And he said, well, I don't know. What are your ideas? You know, so he needed to help to come up with those ideas to even see what the options are. And then what's the barrier to that independence? You know, so if their perfect day is going to church or is going home to see family or anything like that, what can we teach them that will take down those barriers? Is it pro-social behaviors? Is it boundaries? Do they not have a friend because they're bossy? Are these things skills that we can teach in order for them to be able to have the best day that they want to have? Okay, choice. We talk about choice a lot in this field. Choice is an important expression of personal freedom. We overlook this all the time. Like we think we give choice, but we really don't. You know, I'm not talking about, do you want milk or water? You know, that's a choice. That's great. But we're talking about choices that really matter in their life. You know, you said friendship is one of your values. You know, would you like to choose to have more friends? What can we work towards to learn these skills to have friends? You know, do you want to go to church? Church is a great place if they have that religious background of having social connections, being a part of something outside of maybe their Scylla or thing like that. Are they actually given a choice to do things like that? Do you want to be a part of the community? You know, where do we start? Like I said, church or Special Olympics or volunteering. How can we get to the point that we're providing choices of what people want to do? And again, I know we're up against a staffing crisis, but if we can start small and start integrating people into the community through choice and things like that, we may see a decrease in behaviors, increase in health and things like that, and get more people in the field. I know that when I was a DSP, I wanted to take them out and do things. I felt like that made my day go faster, we had less behaviors on the home. So to me, that was important. So if I could offer choice and get them out and do things in the community, it made my life easier than staying home and having to deal with behaviors and things like that all day long. Ooh, there's Danielle.
I'm surprised, Amy, that you didn't call on me. I was waiting for it. All right. So we're going to choose another person, and I picked out Kathleen Misselbrook. She talked about how she does the happiness assessment not only for the people that she serves, but also for employees. And I thought that was very interesting. And prior to that, she actually talked about we need to be partnering with DSPs in a different way, because obviously we can't do this without them. So finding creative ways to make that partnership a little bit better.
I agree. Yep. You need to do a webinar on that. How can we do that? How can we get that done? Okay, how can we incorporate? So we talk about choices. Of course, we need to, assess their ability level, see where we're at, build choice into proactive strategies. Giving choice isn't something that's going to come naturally to, DSPs on the home. We need to teach them how to give choice. We need to model to them how to give choice. If you're somewhere that you're not sure what choices to make or what kind of they like, do a preference assessment. Maybe you'll find out things that you didn't know before, that they like to color or do bubbles, or they like sensory stuff, whatever it is. It gives you kind of a place to start if you're not sure what it is that they would like to choose from. What is it that they like? And make it a priority to train staff and really build this into your culture of creating an environment of choice. Another thing, it's a little bit related to choice I was thinking about was, I had an article and it talks about integrating things that work and don't work into the plan. So, if choice is important, you would put that over what works, or giving choice or how to give those choices appropriately, actually spell that out in their behavior plan and their positive support plan so that staff know how to appropriately do that and things that work. And then on the other side, do a column that don't work. Don't give 7 choices. Don't give a choice out in the community if you don't have a staffing pattern. Don't give, those things over there so you know what works and you know what don't work. And it gives you kind of a little guide to move through versus just working on decreasing those target behaviors. Okay. Being in the community is a vital aspect of a good life, right? We all want to feel like we're part of something. Think about all the small subgroups that you're involved in. You know, I think about me, I have my peers, which are my work friends. I have the same group of friends that I've been friends with, you know, since elementary school. I have my mom friends that I hang out with at my kids' sporting events. I have my holistic friends that we like, you know, text about certain stuff. You know, some people volunteer and have volunteer friends. People in the IDDD community that I'm close with. I have all of these small networks that make up what my community is. And you can actually draw it out if you want to do it to yourself and see how many small communities that you're actually a part of that builds who you are. And these communities are what give us our belonging and our trust, right? Now think about the individuals we serve and do their circles for them and see outside of their SILA or their wherever they live, and then maybe their day program, what else do they have that's part of their community? And I think it's probably going to be kind of an eye-opener to see that a lot of them don't have a whole lot of other stuff going on. So that tells me two things. We need to build meaningful connections within what we have, what we're working with, and we also need to work to find different opportunities within our community that will help with this community and experience some meaningful relationships. I don't know, do we have anyone from Village of Progress on? I probably should have asked before I said this, but Village of Progress is a day program in Oregon. I live in a small town, Byron, and Oregon is right next to me. Village of Progress, and along with DD Homes, has done a phenomenal job at integrating people with intellectual and developmental disabilities into the community. Anywhere you go in Oregon, I mean, you can go to the rec center, Nash, you can go to, they have beautiful parks and they have trails with trikes that they're on a lot. We have concerts in the park. They're always there. They have a parade that they're in. They have a bakery there that they work at, volunteer at. They have alliances with a lot of building businesses going out and doing things. They've done a really, really good job in integrating this population into a small community. They've done phenomenal. Did anyone put in the chat box that they're here from VOP? No. They're too busy for our training. They're out doing stuff with them. Let's see what else we got here. How to incorporate. So just think about what are your barriers integrating to the community. You know, what are you up against? Is it the target behaviors that are stopping it? Do we need to teach more skills? Can you not find the right businesses or social groups or things like that that are kind of accepting? Do we need to go in and do some training what an intellectual disability is so they know, so they're comfortable with it? Do we need to teach the person, like we said, pro-social behaviors, how to have those healthy boundaries, hygiene skills, anything that could be a barrier into getting them into the community? We need to start looking at that and building a plan that can work on the skills necessary in order to do that. Contributing, producing, sharing one life is essential to being fulfilled, right? So we talk about living a value-based life. Amy has made it a priority in the Rockford office. We talk a lot about values. She actually sends us an assessment every year. We circle what our values are, and then she comes up with a list, and then we figure out how we're going to meet those values. You know, so if it's, I don't know, what are our values right now, Amy?
Our values are family, flexibility, collaboration, fun, and empathy.
Okay. So we try to be fun here. I mean, we've done all sorts of crazy stuff we've shown you guys. We're very flexible. Amy's very much a you do your job, get it done. You know, if you want to learn things and you have passion for that, tell me what it is. We'll get you signed up. Work-life balance. If you need to take the day off, you take the day off. So Amy has created a culture here that's based off of what our values are and what are important to us, which is probably why a lot of us have been here a really, really long time. So think about your values within your agency, and then the values also of the people that we're serving, right? So what are their values? And maybe they don't know their values because they've never been asked. Maybe the words within the values are a little bit too hard for them to understand. So we need to break those down and provide them information and figure out kind of what their values are. And I've actually started asking the people that I'm building plans for and putting a value section right in their plan so I can start integrating those a little bit better. I need to even get get more integration going on, but I have at least a start where I'm having that conversation with them. Is it family? You know, is it connections? What is it that they value? And then what can we work on to really get towards that? When I was thinking about the giving of the holidays, we're coming up to the holidays. Holidays are a really, really, really hard time for the people we support, right? I mean, it's going to be snowy and cold. We're looking at, you know, a lot of people get depressed. They don't have that sun. They don't have, a lot of them don't have family that are going to pick them up or have that special connection with their family to be able to spend time with them. Maybe they have medical issues or behavioral issues and aren't going to be able to go home. So having a sense of giving and importance of giving during the holidays is something that really, really is going to help them. Can we find things for them to do that they're going to feel are meaningful and like they're giving back, whether it's something through church, volunteering time, making cards, you know, volunteering at shelters, dropping off stuff, whatever it is. Let's really think about things that we can do during this holiday season to give that meaning and that sense that they're actually giving back to other people. When I was thinking about how to incorporate this, one of the things I already talked about the values, but another article I read talks about listing like their gifts, their passions, their capabilities, things like that right into their plan as well. So if they're really good at socializing or greeting people or I don't know, whatever it is, let's list those out in their plans too, so that we can start seeing what their values are, but also what they're really good at. Are they good at creativity? Then do you want to make some cards, things like that, and start incorporating that into their plans as well as, and then things that they don't like to do, right? So someone doesn't like to do arts and crafts or doesn't like little kids or things like that. We can put that in there too, so we know about the things that we need to avoid with them as well.
Number 6, that exercising rights and responsibilities and being an active citizen brings a sense of belonging and acceptance. So you can see where these sort of intertwine a lot, right? And so being an active citizen means that you care about the community you live in. We're all active citizens in our community, that we're willing to work to make the environment better by volunteering, voting, serving on committees. We fulfill both our rights and responsibilities. And we like to do things for others. And then in return, we also like to have people do things for us. That's sort of what makes it work. And so how can we take that and then sort of integrate that into our behavior plans? And I think that one of the things that we've talked a lot about is that, you know, why is the person doing what it is that they're doing? And then when are the behaviors actually occurring? And so if we fill up the time with other things or give people a sense of belonging to a community, we're all parts of a variety of different communities, right? But we all also require a lot of support to sort of go about our day. And that is different for different people. Our support is different. And so everybody needs support to sort of reach their dreams. We all have dreams and goals. But some of us are lucky enough to obtain that support from a spouse or friends or family, a neighbor. And then some people that we encounter rely on paid staff to help them get their support and connect to people for their community. And so that's kind of the only thing that differs, is that, you know, what are the things that we could do that have to get our individuals involved in community? And that community can mean different things to different people. We talked in the comments, people are talking about what communities look like for some of our folks. And, you know, they have talked about that it's the people that they see at the workshop and the people within their home, you know, and I've been in environments where people are not even allowed to help with the trash because that's somebody else's job. And so then it's just sort of dead on the floor. But that's being a part of a community. We all want to be valued and appreciated. And so it's sort of going back to the drawing board and thinking how we can incorporate those sorts of tasks and belonging into the person's environment. meaningful relationships and social connections are essential. And so other people are the best sort of antidote to the downs in life, right? When we're having a bad day, we all have those people that we sort of call to make it better. And those people are also the single most reliable source of an up for us. You know, everybody has those people in their lives. Everybody on here could tell me who it is that they sort of go to get that sense. And like Anna mentioned earlier, everybody sort of has different circles. So how to incorporate that is to identify a circle of support, and it'll give you sort of a visual representation of what supports the person has and how we can sort of build upon those. So think about a few people that we provide services to. Do they have a meaningful connection, or are just it's staff just in and out of their lives? And sometimes they don't even know the people that are providing that support to them. And those people don't even know their likes or their dislikes. And so then how can we effectively ask them to, you know, engage the people to reduce challenging behavior? What about the people without any active family? Who do they connect with? Do they have somebody that they can depend on and really have a real connection with? Do the people that we support have friends in meaningful relationships? And so really thinking about how we can build upon those and create those circles of support for the individuals that we work with. The next one is planning with others starts with deep, genuine listening. And so I have seen some comments where people are saying that, you know, they work with individuals that can't really identify preferences, that maybe they're non-vocal verbal. And so this, that's sort of where I got my start in the field, is I worked at a large ICF with individuals that were, you know, primarily non-vocal verbal. And, one of the things that really stuck out to me was when somebody said that not being able to speak is not the same as not having anything to say, right? And so just really think about that. Think about the individuals who maybe don't communicate in the same way as you and I. That does not mean that they do not have anything to say. It's a matter of challenging ourselves to figure out how we can get that. Does their face light up a little bit when we get out a particular game? Or, you know, the exact opposite of that, does their face sort of change when, you know, are they less tense? And so I just think this is really, really meaningful and deep for those of us that have spent a good chunk of our lives working with those folks. It does not mean that they don't have anything to say. It may mean that your job is going to be a little bit harder in figuring out what it is that they're trying to say, but something is there. Something is there that they're trying to say. So, you know, how to incorporate this. I thought it was meaningful to think about some of our sort of common mistakes. And so daydreaming or thinking about something else. So when the person is actually in front of us, are we busy doing other things, or are we engaged and paying attention? Thinking of what we're going to say next when the person may be trying to communicate, or when we should be watching for what it is that they're trying to say to us, judging what the other person is saying. And so how many times have we had in our head, or we sit down at the table and say that that's not going to work because, well, we don't know that. We're just sort of assuming that it's not going to know that it's not going to work. Or that we're listening with a specific outcome or goal in mind. And so, you know, what is it that the person, you know, really sort of taking a step back and being present in the moment, and being aware of everything that the person is saying, both verbally and non-verbally and everything in between. There's a lot of good tips in the chat box about communication with people. Plans that are written down are valued and help people achieve their goals. So it is no secret that writing things down makes people far more successful, right? That's true in, how many of you guys have to-do lists and sort of seek satisfaction in marking that stuff off. And so there's research that sort of shows that people that write down their goals, it pays off. That, think of a GPS. It sort of is a map of how we're going to go a certain place, or your phone, the app on your phone. And so it's best when goals have specific timeframes, that they're written down, that you can refer back to things. And so it sort of gives you a framework. And so if you think about that in the sense of an actual behavior plan, people talked about this earlier. You sort of have one person that can ruin the whole behavior plan for everybody because they're not doing what everybody else is supposed to be doing. And so when you really write things down and, train people in it, then it becomes far more successful. And so one of the ways we can incorporate that is using a GROW model. And so the G stands for, what is it that I want to accomplish? What is it that I enjoy doing? If the person says, well, I have fun when I'm cooking, okay, how can we build upon that? And then the R is, what are the current realities that you face in relation to your goal? And so that sort of has 3 questions that come along with it. Those realities do. Where are you now? What resources do you have to make that attainable? And then what obstacles are sort of in the way? And so that's true with behavior planning as well, right? That you're not going to ask or implement something that can't effectively be delivered. We know that. And so then what are the barriers to getting there? We talked about people are talking in the chats about people's preferences and reinforcements. And so what's your goal to get to that? O is considering possible options. And so options. So what courses of action could you take or strategies could you use to accomplish a goal? So what is it that your goal is? And then what options do you have, or strategies or action can you take to get to that goal? And then the W is the will. And so do I have a clear understanding of what needs to be done to achieve that goal? A lot of times people have behavior plans because rules and regulations say that we need to have one because the person is on psychotropic medication. And so something was done and ran through your HRC, and you change the dates every year, and that's that. And so we're not really teaching that meaningful sort of interventions that go along with it. I just wanted to check the time here. Okay. So this is our last one. In person-centered plans are only as good as their implementation. And so one of the things that sort of always stood out to me is that if you don't train on your behavior plan, you essentially don't have a plan, right? If you don't teach the staff what it is that we want them to do, then essentially we're doing nothing. And that's the same thing. If we don't have a plan to implement our person-centered planning or our goals, then essentially that nothing is going to get done. And so ways that we can go and sort of incorporate this, I'll just go through this quickly, is we can do some positive planning. And so that involves the person's well-being, that PERMA that Anna talked about earlier. You can refer back to that. Achieving outcomes. And this really focuses on the person. So what is it within the person that can be done? And then positive supports are encouraging the person and people to see the person side of the process. So family and friends, what direct and indirect supports does the person have to sort of achieve those outcomes? And then action. What what is it that we need to do? And oftentimes we have to leave our comfort zone to make this happen. What is it that we can do to sort of leave our comfort zone to open the doors for change? What action needs to be taken? I'm not sure I'm explaining this really well. Anna, I'm sort of tripping all over my words here with this action. What I'm trying to say is, how are we going to be creative in getting our implementation across? And what is it that we need the staff to do to sort of challenge ourselves in our ways of thinking, right? And sort of humble ourselves to go back to the basics and get something implemented. And then that last one is progress. And so this also focuses on self-reflection, because it's going to focus to take a long look at what's working and what's not working, and understanding that we may need to change things or make changes to a plan that we put a lot of effort into. And so we have to make sure that we're moving forward in this. Do you have anything to add to that, Anna? That's the end of the 10. I know we're going to talk a little bit about sort of putting that all together. And then I wanted to Danielle to do a gift card here before we move on.
Yeah, no, there's comments about, and I get it totally, just getting that staff buy-in, them wanting to run kind of their own plans and things like that. And I always say, make sure that your behavior analyst or your Q or whoever it is has a really strong rapport with the DSPs. Create an environment that involves them in the planning process. We always have more buy-in if it's their idea. So if we can sit down and make them part of the process, make a really strong team that guys, like, this is what we're going to try. We're all either going to succeed together or we're all going to fail together. If we're going to fail, we're going to try again, but let's all do the same thing and see what works, and kind of creating that culture and that environment that everyone is on the same page, and having that really strong, if you have a lead over a house or somebody, really choosing someone that has strong leadership skills and is able to get everybody on the same page, and then make sure that we're on the floor and kind of earning their respect by being there and showing them that we're willing to try things and do things with them and model to them and things like that. I feel like if we can do some of that, we can usually get way more buy-in as far as getting our plans run.
I agree. Where'd Danielle go? There she is.
I'm here. Let's see. I've seen a lot from Aisha Payne. She talked about her agency's core values being maintaining respect for the individual, conducting business by the golden rule, having integrity, being reliable, striving for continual improvement, and always being compassionate. She had also made the comment that at her agency, they always say what we do matters. So even if it's a small thing, every little thing that we do makes a difference. And I thought that was a nice saying, because I think some days are hard, some days are harder than others. So keeping that in mind, that, even a small thing is making a difference.
Yeah, we talked about that during PERMA, is really taking time to reflect on the things that we're doing and the positives. Like, this is a really hard field. If we can take the time to really notice what we're doing, even the little things, someone learned a new skill, someone was able to communicate versus engaging in behavior. We got an agency to, train their staff on something. You got a DSP to show up for an extra shift, whatever it is, we got to take the time to retrain our brain and focus on those small victories, or, we'll just drown. So that's a really good point.
All right, now we're going to have our barista Anna put this all together for us.
Ooh. Okay. So we talked today about two different things. We talked about, oh, that's funny. I didn't know you're putting that picture. That was my Halloween costume last year. I borrowed my daughter's one. Thanks for putting that on there, AB.
You're welcome. You are welcome.
It's funny, when we went to NAQ, we actually went to Duncan and took pictures there. Amy was actually in the drive-through, walking through there with her giraffe on, and I was inside. We got a lot of really strange looks, but Thanks for putting this one on instead of those. Okay, so we talked about today the behavioral perspective, which we're all pretty familiar with, and how to build our function-based plans, how to assess, how to get our data going. And then we also talked about positive psychology, which may be like a new way of thinking for all of you guys. What we're challenging you guys to do is really start thinking about PERMA and positive psychology and well-being, and how we can create behavior plans that focus more on the well-being of the people we're providing support with, creating adaptive skills that make sense based on their values, and teaching these skills that are going to promote those 10 principles and remove some of the barriers that may be standing in the way of achieving some of those. And creating a culture that really embraces the whole idea of PERMA. I know that this won't happen overnight. This is a new concept for a lot of people. Amy and I are really working on getting these things integrated into our own recommendations, our own plans, and things like that. So we're not perfect at it either by any means. We're challenging ourselves every day to kind of integrate things like that into the recommendations that we're making, the people that we're working with in agencies. So it's not going to happen overnight, but if you guys as an agency can come together as a team, learn all you can about it, create some, some guidelines or some work culture, start building your guys' team to be strong, have creativity, have fun, have balance, whatever it is you guys identify, maybe we won't struggle as much in this field, and we'll be able to keep people a little bit longer. And also the people that we're serving will be able to flourish and have the best life. And maybe we'll get to a point where, that we feel they're living their best lives. I think that is it for wrapping it all up. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
Sometimes I just kind of talk full speed and then I'm like, breaks.
I went through the chat and I actually came up with one question that maybe you guys could elaborate on. And that was from Amanda. She had said that the issue with staffing is not only that there's a major shortage, but the large majority are suffering, from this major burnout. So how can we help our DSPs support our clients' behaviors effectively when they themselves are limited in the choices that they have in their own workplace?
Sure. I think that goes back to, again, creating a culture. A lot of agencies don't have culture. They don't have a mission. They're not living the mission. DSPs are just coming in and out, clocking in and out, don't feel supported. Are we creating an environment that's encouraging, empowering, fun? We don't want them to dread coming to work. If we can create them to, or if we can get them in a better place mentally when they come in and they're not dealing so reactively with things, and we can get proactive things going on, I think they would be in a better place. Getting people out into the community is a great way to, get them going. I know it can be stressful planning, but I would rather put all of my work on that front end versus dealing with behaviors on the back end. If we can get engagement going on, if we can get crafts and activities and things going on in the home, the DSPs may enjoy work a little bit better. If we can make sure that we're supporting them the best we can, we're on the floor showing them things that work or don't work, that may encourage them a little bit more. I know burnout is huge. It's happening. It's real. Teaching them some resilience, how to deal with change, right? Like change is hard, but we also know from research that if we're not able to adapt to change, so we're going to fail. So teaching them to be resilient. Guys, I know that this sucks. I know that this is hard. This is what we're going to try. This is why. Come back, follow up with them, make sure that they feel like they are part of a bigger team and not just a DSP coming in and out and clocking in and out. They want to feel like they're part of something as well. That's a good little segue to talk about our conference. ISCPN is actually, we're in the stages of planning our in-person conference. And we're actually going to talk about positive psychology a lot within that conference. We're going to talk about PERMA, some of our breakouts. Well, all of our breakouts are going to be on PERMA. So we're going to talk about those in greater detail. We're going to have our keynote speaker talk about PERMA. We have a great RN coming in to talk about well-being and what we can do for ourselves and the people we're supporting to be as healthy as we can. So this is going to be a huge aspect of our conference coming up. We're hoping to open up registration here in the next month or so. But if you guys are registered to receive our mailings, then you'll get the notification when when that opens and the dates and where it is and all of that sort of good stuff. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I just want to say, to add a little bit about the question that was answered. I mean, you know, a lot of it comes back to values, and there's a self, you know, that piece of self-care. And so we're seeing a lot of people requesting that, you know, we train their staff on caring for the caregiver and, you know, what sort of caregiver you are, in boundaries. And one of the things that we've really started asking people when we're interviewing them is, what sorts of things do you like to do for fun, right? Like, you have to have something to look forward to outside of work. And I think it goes to one of the other things that we say a lot is that the saying of, you have to put your oxygen mask on before you can help somebody else. And so, yes, the field is hard, but I think there's things that we can do to sort of get back to basics to have that better work-life balance for ourselves, that better work-life balance for our staffs. Are there little things we can do in the environment if they're working long hours to sort of make that easier for them? You know, I saw some people, you know, offering them a break or little things like that. You know, think about what's meaningful to you, and then how can I apply that to the people that I'm working with? Do you have any other housekeeping things, Danielle?
Were we gonna do one more gift card, Amy?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do a grand final winner.
This one's gonna go to Nancy Lawrence. She's been active this entire time in the box, talking about the, you know, the importance of values, making sure that we're viewing each person as unique as, you know, individuals, to really treat them as individuals. She also was a former DSP, and she said that this gave her incredible insight into, you know, how DSPs are really the ones on the front line and need to be included in the process.
Awesome. Yeah, just one final thing. I know, thank you to all the Qs out there. I know that you guys have a really stressful job. I think a lot of Qs are on this training. You wear a lot of different hats. We appreciate everything you guys do. I know it's a really, really, really hard position. So know that people do notice all the hard work that you guys are putting in, and we appreciate you guys. Bye, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.